Hi everyone, welcome back to Explore the Tarot. I'm sorry I've been away the past couple of days. I've just had an energetic slump, but I'm back now, and I'd love for us to draw a tarot card for the day and link it up with Kim Kranz's Archetypes deck. So let's pick a card for the day. The Ten of Wands. Ten of Wands. All right. The Ten of Wands is a card of completion. It comes at the end of the suit of Wands. Let's go with this one. And the archetype card that we've got for it is the Threshold. I love that word, the Threshold. It links in really well with the number 10 being a kind of threshold. Being the end of a specific cycle. Okay, I'll read what Kim Kranz has to say. The door, the gate, the initiation. We cross thresholds continually, consciously and unconsciously. Doorways, gates and entryways grace our path on a daily basis. When this card arises, it signifies that the precipice you stand upon is not your typical one. You have arrived at a threshold of initiation, here to usher you into a new reality. It requires you to leave behind the you that you thought was so well formed. A new frontier calls. This is not easy work. Threshold initiation means a part of you will be lost in order to make space for what is next. A metaphorical death must occur. Some may not recognize you. You may struggle to recognize yourself. The ground seems to crumble as you free fall into your new reality. This is the liminal realm. One step, dear friend. Just take that one necessary step towards the future that calls you. In Hindu mythology, Ganesh is the ultimate gatekeeper. Look to the great elephant god for support. Hecate, Janus and Mention are also watching over you. Crossing a threshold may not always be voluntary. Sometimes we are thrown across the boundary through circumstances far beyond our control. Either way, we can't go back. Growth, individuation, ease in the liminal. Right, yeah. This is a really beautiful combination and one that I think makes a lot of sense, actually. Number 10 in the tarot deck is the final number in the minor arcana before we get onto the court cards. And it really represents the coming to a completion of a journey. Within the Wands suit, the way I see it is we get to the end of pursuing some form of work or some passion, and on the way we've picked up so many wands, so many responsibilities, obligations, things we feel that we need to do in order to serve other people, and that's not a bad thing. You know, we live in a world where we are part of a community, and responsibility is such an important part of the work we do. You know, our work is infused with life when it is also imbued with a sense of responsibility to the people around us, to our community, to the world, to the planet. So these wands, towards the end, we've picked up so many of them and we're carrying them on our backs. And the load is becoming heavier. You know, it's becoming a bit of a burden sometimes. It's weighing our energy down. And what this card is asking us to do is to acknowledge all of those responsibilities that we've taken on, to acknowledge the relationships that we honour and wish to protect. And you can see in the background here, you probably won't see it on the camera, but There's a picture of a little village in the background, and there's a sense here of working towards providing for your community, right? So we have all of that, but we are being invited at this point to step across the threshold and almost begin the cycle again, but this time gifted with the knowledge that we have about the journey that has just finished, that has just come to a completion. So each time that we circle round back to understanding, what does work mean for me? What does it mean for me to live purposefully, to serve, to be a good ancestor, to be a responsible citizen of this planet? All of those questions come into the wands in a way, because it's us exploring our environment and learning how to tap our passions and desires into the environment around us and to create something new that's going to serve other people. But yeah, we're being asked in this card to really put those wands down, to acknowledge that we've come to the end of the road when it comes to this one particular thing that we've got going on in our life. Maybe it's that you're a carer and you have a family and you're taking on a lot of responsibility within your family, and it's starting to feel like a burden. It's starting to weigh heavily on your energy. And while you love your family and you're so passionate about caring for everyone in your family, you understand that you've just come to a lesson where you need to learn how to begin to pass off some of that responsibility back onto the people around you. And it's time for you to shed something and step over into a new threshold and a new understanding of who you are within that dynamic, right? So it's very much about moving into a new space, carrying the lessons that you have, but not allowing them to weigh you down to the point where they feel like an obligation. So there's kind of a lightness and heaviness to this card, and I think that's really expressed so beautifully in this picture of the threshold. It's all about taking the lessons that you've learned, looking at your shadow side in any given situation. For example, if you're working a job and you loved it at the beginning and it was wonderful and so inspiring, but now it's got to a point where it just feels like a burden, like it's tiring and draining and you feel burnt out. Taking the lessons that you've learned about that role, looking at the shadows part of you, looking at the difficult parts of it, but also the parts of it that you loved. So taking the essence of what you learned, what felt inspiring, but also what felt enlightening, in terms of just recognizing the shadow aspects of you within that job, taking all of that, alchemizing it, and stepping over the threshold into something new. So maybe at that point you leave that job, and you look to reinvent yourself, to rework yourself, to look at yourself in new lights and to go out and explore new passions and pursuits, but with the wisdom of all of the lessons that you've learned still with you. So this really is a card about shedding, letting go, but not so much that you're starting all over again. It's never that you're starting all over again. You're spiraling into yourself with the gift of wisdom, with the gift of the experiences that you bring with you. So questions for this combination would be, where am I feeling burdened in my life? What feels heavy in my life? How can I alleviate that? Where can I begin to free myself of a sense of obligation in my life? How can I best serve the people around me in a way that feels joyful and light and true and authentic to me? And when I look back at the experiences in my life that burned me out or felt tiring or heavy, what lessons can I take from that? And where can I begin to reinvent myself, step